Hi, my name is Adam Walls, and I'm an award-winning makeup artist. You may have seen my work at Lionsgate's Chaos Walking. Are you curious about how prosthetic scars are applied and painted? Well, come with me today on Off the Walls Effects. We're going to figure it out. Hi, welcome to Off the Walls Effects. All right, so today and over the next couple weeks, we're going to be talking about scars. Today, we're going to start out that series with applying a handful of these silicone burn scars. So when applying scars for a movie or a TV show, you really need to know how old that scar is, because that's going to determine how you paint that scar up. Kind of a general rule of thumb, if you have a newer, fresher scar, you're going to have more of those mauves and more of those pinks and those reds in that scar coloring, versus an older scar where you're going to get more of a natural skin tone. Usually you'll get a skin tone that's a little bit darker or a little bit lighter, and you can kind of play with those tones to really sell the age of your scar. The other really important thing you need to know is how the character got the scar to begin with. Was it a wound? Was it an injury? Was it a cut? Was it a burn? You really need to know what happened to that character to determine what sort of scar you're going to put on your character. Usually ask those questions and get those answers when you're doing pre-production on a project. Those are those conversations that you're having with your director or your showrunner when you're establishing the looks for all of your characters. Now, I've applied my fair share of scars over the years, going all the way back to 2016's Roots, where we applied keloid scars to Chicken George's hands and Kunta Kinte's back, going all the way up to more recently Echo for Disney Plus, where I designed and applied the face and eye scar for Kingpin during that series. Both projects using two very different styles of scars with two very different ways of painting them up. Unlike that project though, we're going to go through a different sort of scar today in burn scars. Now, burn scars have a very specific look. When you think about what the skin does as it burns, the skin will tighten up. You'll get these lines where the skin starts to shrink and it will pull in other areas as it heals. That's kind of why you get those lines that you do in burn scars. So today what we're going to do is we're going to do a slightly aged burn scar, and I'm going to apply it to my friend Bonnie, who's a friend of mine here in my neighborhood, and she's going to come in and we're going to put these on her face. But of course, like always, I'm going to go through a Procreate design first. I'm going to photograph these prosthetics, make sure we have it roughly lined up to where we want it, and we're going to go ahead and put it on her face, paint it up, and you'll get to see the final product at the end. So let me stop talking about all this and let's get into it. Now, this is my friend Bonnie, and as you can see, I've taken a couple photos of the scars that we're going to use today, and I've roughly sized them up. I've approximated where I think they're going to go, and I'm kind of placing them where I think is going to work best for her anatomy. Now, I spent a lot of time trying to make sure that those scars match her skin, and you can see that I'm working out those ideas early on. You can see that I'm working some skin breakup in there. You can see that I'm trying to bridge a little bit of a gap between those prosthetics and her skin. Try to work on those shadows and highlights. I'm trying to make sure that I get those to pop. And you can see that I'm kind of working with the colors that I will eventually use in the makeup. Now, as you can see here towards the end, I've started looking at her eye, and it just didn't seem natural to have such an extreme burn on the face so close to the eye and not have it affect it in any way. So as you can see, I've kind of taken her eye and I've slumped it down a little bit. And I'm hoping that when I go in and apply the prosthetic, I can put the prosthetic just over this eyelid to hopefully give me a little bit of a droop. We're going to play with it a little bit. It's a little funky around the eye. And you have some potentials for it to get a little gummy in that area or to mess up your prosthetic. But if you're really careful about it and you think about how the anatomy of your eye works, and you think about if you can impede your eyelid from going back up into the eye socket, you can push that down a little bit and create this sort of effect, which is what we're going to go for. So in this case, we're going to give it a shot and we're going to jump into this and we'll get it going. So my friend Bonnie came to hang out for the afternoon, and as you can see, I'm starting out by cleaning any oils or debris off of the skin with some Kiehl's Blue Astringent. And this will help get those oils off and allow my adhesives to stick. My next step is going in with my silicone adhesive, and essentially what I'm doing is I'm flattening her eyebrow. I want to make sure that I have a nice smooth surface up there so I can glue those prosthetics over top. Definitely go back over a whole bunch of times until it starts to get tacky, and you'll start to notice that your brush is pulling. every time you go over the eyebrow. You can go ahead and push on it with your finger, make sure it's nice and firm, and then after giving it a little powder to take that tack away, as Bonnie and I put it, that's how you want your brow to feel, right? You just feel it with your finger.
It's a little heavy. Okay, it's a
It's a rock.
It's not going anywhere.
No, not at all. And it shouldn't go anywhere. And as you can see, the next thing that I'm doing is I'm actually adding an eyebrow cover over top. I want to make sure I have a nice smooth surface over there because I know I'm going to have a little bit of skin showing from around those scars. So I'm using this little prosthetic blender up here over the eyebrows. Now it is a Procreate transfer, so I run a lot of my Procreate transfers clear and I run them onto setup towels. That way I can release them with alcohol. It will get a little gummy when you do it in this sort of method, so you can see I'm kind of pulling that edge over a little bit, but make sure to go ahead and dry that. Make sure to go ahead and dissolve all those edges on the side, and once that's set, you can throw a little powder on it and you're good to go. That's what we call an eyebrow cover.
Such a technical term. If I had my hair down, it would have been a Farrah Fawcett moment. Missing the shots.
Right. Farrah Fawcett moment aside, we go ahead and make sure everything is nice and powdered, everything is nice and tack-free, and now we're ready to put our prosthetics on. Now these prosthetics I've actually pre-glued, and what that means is I've put a layer of glue down first, I've dried it and powdered it. So there's already a coat on the back, and the reason I do this, especially in doing something like this today, I can actually place that prosthetic on her face, and as her skin warms up, it will actually reactivate the glue that's already there. So I can push in a couple little spots and get a little bit of a tack so it holds its shape, and then I can go through and put a layer of glue on the skin, dry that down, and slowly work that prosthetic into place. Now you can see that I'm kind of working it around her eye. You see that little jut that's going right into her eye well? That little jut right there, I'm trying to end right at that fold in her eyelid. I want to make sure that it's going to push the eye down a little bit, but I also don't want to get so close to that fold that I'm catching an edge. So this is one of those things where I have to be really careful, and you can see I'm going in with my blender and I'm blending that edge off, but I'm being super careful to make sure that I'm not getting any in her eye, and I'm making sure that I'm being very conscious about how her anatomy works, and so I can make sure those edges go exactly where I need them to go so it doesn't create a problem for me. Now you can also see that I've got a little bit of that prosthetic going up into the hair. That's okay. That's something that we're going to handle a little bit later. At this point in the makeup process, I'm not sure if I want to keep that. If I'm on set, sometimes I'll lay some hand-laid hair over that to make it look like that scar is going into the hair, but we'll go ahead and tackle that a little bit later. Now you can see that I'm being really careful with this second piece here under the eye as well. I'm making sure that I'm taking my time to make sure that it's glued down in the area that I need it to be. I'm also trying to make sure that that blending edge right up here under the eye is not going to be interfering with her eye other than pushing it into the position that I need it to be in. Again, be very, very careful in and around the eye. It's a very sensitive area. You don't want to do anything to screw that area of the anatomy up. Just like that first piece, we're going to go ahead and blend off these edges as well. Now you can see in this case that some of these edges, you can see them. They're not totally blended down, and that's fine. I know I've got another prosthetic or two that are going to go over some of these areas, so I'm not blending everything down 100% like I would if it's just that one piece. Now, much like the eye and being a really sensitive area of the anatomy, I'm taking my time around her nose. You want to make sure that she's not inhaling any more than she needs to of those fumes that are coming from the blender. I've given her the hair dryer, that way she can kind of blow those fumes away so she's not getting that right up her nostril. You can see I'm kind of working around the eye a little bit as well. A lot of that prosthetic right here kind of covered some of her eyelashes, so I'm trying to pull those eyelashes out to make sure that I'm gluing the prosthetic not to her lashes but to her skin. Once I'm happy with that piece, I go ahead and get out the next one. You can see that I'm just laying it right over top of the other one. It's kind of the fun thing about scars like this, especially burn scars, is everything kind of noodles together. Everything weaves together. So you can go ahead and put a layer of glue just over top of that other prosthetic and glue that down. And those things blend off really nicely together because you're blending off your Baldy's barrier onto a Baldy's barrier. So it just melts into it, which is really nice. Although you do have to be careful that you're not over blending that down, because if you get to your raw silicone underneath, it's not going to pick up your paint very well. So be really careful when you're going in there with your blender. Now this is the last piece that I'm putting down, and you can see that this one's kind of covering up some of those edges that we had right here and some of the edges that we had right up here. Now you can see that I'm taking my time only to glue in certain areas. I'm going to make sure that this prosthetic lays down exactly where I want it to, because if I glued the entire prosthetic on, we would go ahead and we would get flashing all the way onto our eyelid. Obviously we don't want that to happen. Now you'll notice that on that inner part of the eye, I'm not getting overly close to the corner of her eye. I want to make sure that I'm giving myself enough room right in here where I can glue that prosthetic down and blend it off. I don't want it to get into that eye. Brows are another area of concern. Now you can see that I've only kind of glued it up to a certain point. I'm going to blend off that edge to really make sure that her left eyebrow is coming out while the right one remains completely covered. Now you can see how that little bit of that edge on the inner corner was kind of lifted up. I just used a little bit of blender on that IT and just kind of pushed that down because I already had a layer of glue there. Now, as you can see, I've got my Procreate cream out as well as a red sponge, and essentially this technique that I'm doing right now does two things for us. It bridges the texture between your skin and your prosthetic, but it also locks that edge in. So if you have an area that's kind of lifted up a little bit or didn't quite blend off exactly the way you wanted it to, this is a great technique to go ahead and fill that edge in to really make sure that your prosthetic blends seamlessly into the skin. But of course this is a glue, so keep in mind that when you're done with this, you're going to want to dry it with a hair dryer, and you're going to want to powder this afterwards just to make sure that everything's locked in. Now I'm finally getting back to the hair, and I'm making that decision that I'm just going to cut this little section off. I don't have the hair to kind of blend it in the way that I would normally do it on set. So what we're doing is we're giving our other option, which is to trim it off, move her hair into place, and then later on I'll go ahead and I'll put a little paint right over there as well, just to really kind of feather that down into it so it's not as noticeable. And after we're happy with that, it's time to paint. Or as Bonnie puts it,
Where it comes to life.
you know, I couldn't say it better myself. And much like I do when I do most makeups, I'm going to go ahead and start with my adjusters first, and I'm going to go ahead and start with a red undertone. And make sure to open my cone up and drop my pressure on my compressor. That way I'm getting a nice spatter pattern of paint all across her face.
I'm just imagining my face is nothing but red now.
Actually, you can open your eyes if you want to see.
Oh yeah, I'm not red.
No, it's really subtle. It's like a kiss of red, you know? And that's what you're looking for. You're looking for that real subtle color to give you a nice base coat. Those are her undertones, those reds. So we're using that first. The next color up, I go in with my green. I'm going in with my olive adjuster. Again, spattering that over top, neutralizes that red a little bit and kind of brings it all into a more natural skin tone that would match what she has already. So after I've gone in with my two adjuster colors, I'll go ahead with a little bit of natural one, which is kind of a generic light skin tone, and I'm giving that a nice spatter pass over top. Between the red, the green, and that natural one, everything starts to sink down and kind of settle in. That base is a really good starting point and allows us to really punch those scars and work with those shadows and highlights as we get further into this makeup. Now once I've got those colors in, you can see that I'm going in with my dual action airbrush. The nice thing about these airbrushes is you can control the amount of pigment and air that's released. By pushing down is going to control your airflow, and pulling back is going to affect how much paint comes out of the front. Now the nice thing about these is you have very, very, very fine tip on this guy. And these are great for doing tiny lines and really high detail work. Now I like this for getting in just along the lines of the scars. I like using this airbrush to really kind of punch up those areas. So in this case, I'm going in with a bruisey color. I'm going in with my purples and my reds. I'm trying to make that wound look a little bit more fresh. I don't want it looking totally old, but I also don't want it looking brand new. But I'm trying to make these scars look a little angrier, if you will. So if you go in with those, you can noodle around some of those spots and hit some of those shadows right where you want them. As you can see, I'm kind of adding a little skin tone up on that brow. I can still see it a little bit through the prosthetic, so we're going to add a little bit of color there just to kind of blend that in a little bit better. You can see that I've got my Illustrator palette out, and I'm going in with a cedar brown and a natural 2, and I'm using that color just to kind of start to work some of those shadows in around these scars. These are those opportunities to stand back and squint at your makeup. See those areas that are asking for the extra color. Figure out where those lines are coming together. What are those areas that you want to make pop? And in blending that off onto the skin, you can extend those scars from the prosthetic, and you can make that color fade out if you extend it onto her skin a little bit. Now, I've gone in with a real fine detail brush as well. Using that rice paper as a highlight really brings in more depth into your prosthetic and makes it pop off of the skin. Again, because we've been futzing with the eye today, make sure to color that eye. Add some bruising underneath, add some red in along that eye. Let's really make sure that that eye looks like it's been damaged. Now I'm going in with a Ben Nye red pencil up under the eye. One of those things that's really important, especially in a makeup like this, is to really paint that eye. Because we've already sloped that eye down a little bit, we're showing that that eye has some damage. Getting in there with a red pencil and getting right here along your waterline with that red pencil does such amazing things. Really makes it look like that eye is injured and really helps to sell the point that there has been a lot of injury that's happened in this area. Now you can see a lot of natural skin color on her bottom eyelid. So what I'm going in and doing is I'm using the Makeup Forever Flash palette. This is a great cream set of colors that you can mix together. If you get it really thin, you can get in with a dry brush and just kind of get in there and punch those little areas up. Make sure to seal your makeup first before doing this. Obviously, you don't want to take off any paint that you've already put on. So as you can see that I have sealed this up before I went in with this color. But that color really helps to kind of punch up those areas and liven up those areas of the scar that you really want to highlight. And there you have it. Now we have a finished makeup. As you can see, those highlights and those shadows really help to make that makeup pop off of the skin. You can see that the red and the bruisey tones around the eye really help sell the idea that the eye is injured. Now this is one of those makeups that if you were doing it on set would really benefit from a contact lens. If you put a damaged eye lens in this eye, that would really help to sell that full look. So a lot of the makeup sealers that are out there have a little bit of a sheen to them. And in many cases, you don't want a sheen in your makeup. But in this case, I think that sheen really helps with scars. I think it really helps to sell that idea that the skin is really taut and it's really tight in those areas and kind of helps to have all these little areas pop. All right, so there's a burn scar makeup in a nutshell. Again, just to recap, just a couple things to keep in mind whenever you're doing something like this on set. Make sure you know A, how the character got the scar, B, how old the scar is, and C, most importantly, what the director or showrunner wants to see out of that scar. Hopefully these techniques today will kind of help you kind of lock some of that in. And again, like I mentioned earlier, make sure to keep a look at the channel because we've got more scars coming up in the future. We've got a couple new exciting things that I'm going to be showing off, so make sure to stay tuned to the channel. So subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, so that way you can get those little alerts when these videos drop. And then of course, if you like the video, give it a like. In the meantime, I'm going to turn it over to you guys. Have you ever done a scar before? Do you have any sort of like tricks of the trade that you like to use when applying a scar or painting a scar up? Definitely let me know in the comments below. And of course, as I always say, keep making cool stuff.